yo, 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 come, let me go, let me go.
All right, Gregory, you know you can't sing too hard.
Well,
Listen
sing
to it.
better.
Whoa, yo, 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 whoa, yo, 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 come, let me go, let me go. That's what I'm talking
Whoa, yo,
about.
yo, yo, whoa, yo, 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 come, let me go, let me go.
All right, thank you. That's enough. Welcome, viewers. Thank you for joining us this evening on Soca TV. And we are back here today with another interesting discussion for you. Now, today, when the song gave it away, we are going to interview our Tobago colleagues.
And our first up on your panel will be none other than the great Wendell Berkeley.
Good evening, Mr. Berkeley, and thank you for joining us this evening to discuss Tobago matters. Before we go on to our other panelists, can you just give us and the audience, whoever is listening in, a little idea about yourself, your involvement in the culture and in dance?
All right. Well, let me just say good evening to you, the panelists. I recognize Gregor. I know him very well. He did some work in Tobago and probably still do. And to all the other panelists that will be coming on, I'd want to say good evening. I am not really a dancer by profession in the cultural arena. Of course, I danced because my forte really is drumming and drama. And of course, folklorist is what I may want to call myself. I would have started, as a very young boy. I grew up in the village of Pembroke where culture was like a second word in the village. And in Pembroke, you had a number of practitioners who from time to time from time to time within the year, they will produce their own festivities. And that was a period between, let's say, May right up to August. And it culminated in what we call it in that time August Day, which is really emancipation. And so I would have benefited from that as being a young guy. And so most of my training would have been hands-on and from experience. So I played drums, danced a bit, did drama. My profession really is agriculture. That's what I studied. But I did a number of short courses in the cultural arena. Drumming courses, script writing, etc. And I would have been, leading the Pembroke effort for a very long time. I guess until now still. So people like Elvis, Jesse, and all the likes, we would have all been working together. And we really learned by doing, learned by experience. There was really no classroom, but the classroom was the festival, the association with the elders, the Best Village Times, the Tobago Heritage Times, and so that is where I came from. Eventually, I also served as a member of the Tobago House of Assembly between 2005 to 2009. I was the Assistant Secretary in the Division of Culture. And then I served as the chairman of the Tobago Heritage Festival for a very long period, I think 2009 up to 2017 or somewhere thereabout. Yeah, somewhere thereabout. But so I served there. I was also involved in various committees, carnival committees, etc., in the cultural arena. So I've had a long history in Tobago and Trinidad and Tobago too. I must say that I would have interacted and interfaced with a number of practitioners in Trinidad: Junior, Donald, Noel, Carlton, Francis, Gregor, who's sitting by his side, Gene Coggins. From time to time, we always intermingle. And most people came to Pembroke, and most times Pembroke would have gone to them also. I've interacted also with Norvan. I think we had some times with Norvan. A number of people. Tamba Gwindi is somebody who I've associated with also. Hassan, Xavier, the people. I've been there. Nice. I don't know if I should stop now.
I think you are very well versed and perfect person to have on our show this evening. I want to move on and introduce our next panelist for this evening, and it is none other than Mr. Shaquille Jones, one of our well-known Tobago dancers. Welcome to the program, Shaquille.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so much for being here. It's good evening here too.
And Gregoire.
Hi, Shaquille.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Yes, sir. How are you?
Shitty, can you tell us a little about yourself so the viewers will get to know a little more about you and become a little more intimate with you?
Sure. My name is Shaquille Jones. I am a Tobagonian. I um I have a Bachelor's of Science degree from the University of the West Indies in International Relations. I also just recently completed my Master's of Arts degree in dance at Florida State
Excellent.
University. I've been dancing from the early age of 5. I like to call myself a cultural practitioner. I have been on board. I have received teachings from persons like Mr. Berkeley, the same Jesse Taylor, Annette Alfred, Karen Berkeley Charles. Have had the opportunity to represent Tobago and Trinidad and Tobago, by extension, all over the world, just promoting Caribbean culture. Right now, post graduation, my focus is really looking into the proliferation of Caribbean dance culture, and doing what is necessary to expand the industry in Trinidad and Tobago.
Lovely, lovely.
Thank you. Well, our next guest or panelist here, we have to introduce this lady. Come from Tobago, land of cocoa, Dancy Belle. She is none other than the daughter of Jesse Taylor, the Grand Prince, also daughter of the Grand Dame of Dance and Pembroke, Miss Avril Jerry, granddaughter of the Congo King, Mr. Jerry. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have on the panel today, Shanaria Taylor.
Well, Shanaria, I don't know if everybody don't know you by now, but just in case they never heard of you, which I don't think so, but can you give us a little idea of what you're up to, what you have been up to, and your involvement in the culture?
I find it quite funny that he introduced me with that Coco song, since Bella song, since that actually is my nickname in Trinidad. But as he said, I am what people would say a true daughter of the soil on both ends of my family. I come from a very long or rich line of culture or heritage. On my father's side, my great grandfather contributed to the soccer feast in Tobago, and then on the other side, the entire family is interested in dance. I would be what you call someone who benefited from my family loving the arts, so me kind of inheriting it. So what I ended up doing and straying a bit is, when I went to university, instead I studied communication studies, anthropological science, and then varied over into cultural studies and theater arts. So yeah, I am someone who is very interested in culture, more on the side of theater, history, the documentation, and that kind of thing, and then on the side of dance.
So there you go, an accomplished, a well-accomplished cultural panel. Are you ready, guys?
Yeah.
Soca TV, going on the interview. So, Shanaria and Kevin and Mr. Berkeley, Wendell Berkeley.
Yeah.
What you all would say is a purpose of Tobago's traditional folk dances in the cultural sphere of Trinidad and Tobago?
Oh well, I guess I'll take it. If you're using the word purpose kind of brings me to kind of explain it in a different way, because I would guess the purpose being a way to acknowledge the heritage or to keep the culture alive. That would be the purpose. If I was to kind of stretch the question a bit more into like what does it serve, or how does it really help us, I would say it allows us to tap into our authenticity and creativity as Caribbean people and Trinidad and Tobagonians, especially as Tobagonians, because we see a lot of the authentic cultures that we redefine or redevelop and have various or creations coming from existing cultures. So I think that that's what I would call the purpose of it. Pulling from things like the ballet and creating the ballet jig and the ballet reel and the Congo ballet, and that kind of ability, to me, is the larger purpose of the dance form in Tobago.
For me, I see it as an institution that continues to remind us of who we are as a people, where we came from, where we are now, and where we are going. And also, just to pull off of what Shanaria is saying as well, in terms of really looking at Tobago and our cultural practices and our traditions and how that continues to keep us close knit as a society. The folk dances really helps to drive the traditional aspects of village life in Tobago in that direction, and continues to do that from way back when till now, and it will continue to do so in the future. So I see it as an institution that reminds us of our identity.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Mhm.
Well, seeing that we are discussing dance today, and we're talking about the purpose of dance and particularly Tobago, I want any one of you, if you all can give our audience a list of dances that you would identify as Tobago dances. I know we have dances across Trinidad and Tobago, and even if we do them in Trinidad, could you all give us like a nice little list of, if I had to say, call out all the Tobago dances? Let me hear what you all will, the answers that you all will identify.
I mean, the political answer would be the Tobago jig and the real, but I would say every dance. And the reason I would say that is because of the way Tobagonians and Trinidadians delve into the same dance forms very differently. I cannot think of any dance form, at least not off my head, that a fully Tobago cast, let's say dancers, singers, drummers, and choreographer is Tobagonian, that would be produced in the same way. I think that Tobago and Trinidad, as much as we're twin islands, when it comes to our culture, the same way this one dance or one thing in Trinidad or Tobago, it's different in Barbados, Grenada, or St. Vincent, is the same thing in Trinidad and Tobago. So
So we really
as much
twinning.
as yeah, as much as we would want to say it's things like the Tobago jig, or we should pull because we're more British influenced than Trinidad, we might say, okay, well, we will also pull on things like the um the reel and the jig because of our African influences and those kinds of things. I feel like every single dance, once done by Tobagonians, is always kind of very or aimed to be very Tobago.
I mean,
All right.
I agree with Shanaria there, but I would have to be the person to be literal and answer the question in the sense that I see the Congo ballet as something that is very distinctive to Tobago. I would also call dances like the Coco dance, the Mariko. We have things like the belly jig and the belly reel that I would have seen attempts made in Trinidad to have it done, but I don't know. I think it is something that is distinctive to us. That is what we offer as is Tobago. I'm trying to think of any other dance. The quadrille, a dance that is not done so much anymore. The lancer as well is something that was very Tobago.
Lovely.
I would say that. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So I would say that the okay, and Kevin is correct. Shana is also correct. What Shana spoke about is the Tobago flavor in any dance form that we take, and Kevin would have spoken about, well, Shakil. I would say Kevin would have to excuse me because that's how we call him at home. But and he will have gone into some of the specifics. So the both answers are correct. But I'll tell you something. You see, the Tobago dance, we have to go back to the Tobago dance forms and its origin. And why was it done and how was it done? Because one of the things that happened is that Tobago evolved from borrowing people from different places. Now, whilst in Trinidad, maybe most of the settlers and a lot of the settlers might have come from the Venezuela or that side of the coin. And of course, we had some Grenadians settling and so on. But in Tobago, we really had an influx of people from Carriacou, Grenada, St. Vincent, etc. And with they coming, they have brought some of their traditional cultural art forms and so on. And that would have been fused with what Tobago had existing in itself. Now, the reel and the jig and the Congo and all these forms, they were done in a sort of ritualistic slash social kind of gathering sense, right? They came out of that form when there was the best village, so it went to the stage. Now, and Gregor, I know you will know that what best village did is that it turned everything upside down. Right? In one time, you probably couldn't even recognize an original ballet. No, I mean, you see, Gregor laughing because that's what competition does. Eh? Competition says I'm better than you. But
Right.
what happened in the original forms of dance It wasn't better than you. It was that we are having a good time. And the first question that you ask about the purpose. So there was the purpose of a social gathering where the thing was to pitch a tent, have the bummers, have a dance, have food, have celebration, people have a good time. And then sometimes it veered off into the spiritual realm where you connected. And when you connect now, that turned the dance into something, something different. So there was the both dimensions. And that was good and people enjoyed it and everybody had a good time. Then came competition, which started to deal with costuming, that changed costuming from one form into the other. It was creative and I have no problems with it. But it started to go, and I mean, I am not going to say, I'm not going to talk anything, but I think the Tobago Heritage Festival, in its celebratory form, sought to bring back that form of the celebration as opposed to being competitive. And JDL was a person who was into Best Village and all that. He was part of the team. And I think he and all recognize that, listen, we're losing some of our stuff because it is highly competitive. And therefore, I would say that the Tobago parts of the dances, today, we still celebrate. I mean, I don't want to single out Pembroke. As a matter of fact, in every place, when you let's look at the wedding in the Tobago Heritage Festival, highly celebratory. You see young people walk on the street dancing and having a very, very good time. Yeah? So I didn't say Pembroke because everybody will say, well, okay, they follow us from Pembroke, so they're making up Pembroke. But the thing is, what happens with what we do now is we're going back to that celebration. I mean, Gregor has been to be all the time. I'm sure he sometimes walk into the space, look at the young people. If you want to see how much we have still captured that celebratory socializing with dancing, we have a number of little children, and you look at these children perform, and sometimes you sit down and look at them in awe. I mean, in one or two times when we're doing Salaka feast, I sometimes have to nudge Jesse because sometimes he sit down watching the young people and forgetting that he have a part to go and say just now. So sometimes I just say, anyway, because you look at the children, you look at them having fun, and you recognize that we still have what was ought to be. How it was not going to cast in any aspersions on
But
There's not a little technical difficulties. He's stuck.
he's stuck.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But go ahead.
But for preservation's sake, some of the viewers said that most of the dances of Tobago are disappearing. And I will call some of the dances for you that I know of and that Tobago is well known for. And you don't see them in no other part you don't see them in Trinidad at all besides deep, deep south if they decide to come strange. But Tobago have certain things that they're well known for. That is, of course, the reel, the lancers, the jig, the heel and toe, the quadrille, the cotillion. You know the cotillion, right? That's like a lancers dance with 8 people.
Yeah.
Right. The Coco dance, the Congo dance, which is Pembroke. The first time I saw Congo dance was Avril's grandfather on St. All a little boy then, and all those old ladies and old senior citizens, they were senior people and they were dancing Congo, they were going down real low. And they have the bongo, of course. When you're thinking of Charlottesville and that bongo setting, it's amazing. It's a different style of bongo from Trinidad. And but then we came up with the biggest dance creation of the 20th century, and that was the Congo Belly.
Right.
And then we get to realize that Tobago, all these dances that Tobago have that was synonymous with the culture and the aesthetic of the Tobago people disappeared, and everything was the Congo Belly. And although I worked with I will call him Dr. Henry James because he's brilliant. I worked with him for almost a year at Itsy Bitsy with Anatole Fred, and he's an amazing man. And can you all explain to me, anybody on the panel, what the same way how you all have belly reel and belly jig and Congo belly. Now before that, we in Trinidad knew of the jig, the reel, the belly, and the Congo. So now you all have done a lot of collaborations with these different styles. Can you tell me what made that happen, and how do you all feel about performing these styles?
For me, I think what would have made it happen, and this is just based on my experience and the teachings that I would have received, um, I think it was really like zoning into when you're looking at the progressiveness of the art form and the progressiveness of dance, the zoning into the culture and trying to create. Now, you spoke about the dances that would have no longer been present, and you call out a few of them. And one of the things that I would say is that sometimes in oral tradition, and this is how we receive most of our teachings, in oral traditions, it usually depends on what the person is focusing on or what the group of people or the industry is focusing on at that point in time. So therefore, in passing on these histories always from a very subjective standpoint, and to me that would have contributed to we zone into the jig and we zone into the Congo belly and that type of thing, and people move away from that. And I can't say what the reason is because it started happening before I got involved in the culture. But what I know is that it is because, or partly because of our oral traditions and how we pass on history in that form and in that manner. I think in terms of the Congo belly and the belly reel and the belly jig, I think, as I said before, in terms of the progressiveness of the art form and us wanting to create and really zone into something that was Tobago, what we seen as Tobago, I think that is what would have allowed these persons to make those creations. And what was I going to say next? I have a little brain pause here.
Shanavia will help you. What are you
Yeah.
from Pembroke?
what
Let's
I
collaborate
think-
if Pembroke happens.
Yeah.
What I think, and this is really, I would love to say that this 100% is credited to Tobago on magical ability as Tobagonians to just pull things out of thin air. But I think that when we start tracking back history and tradition and culture in the Caribbean on a whole, everything that we have is the what the colonizer or anyone that's on the other side of history would call a mimic culture. So as Caribbean people, we have a very innate ability to tap into something and create from nothing. So all of these dance forms in their authentic way came from some form of creation. And with these many influences in one space, and this is me not talking about colonial times, this is me talking about this postmodern world and our ability to create things. A lot of energy went into re-authenticating or redefining how you want to move, and that category or the way in which I'll use Gregor as an example because we've seen time and time again that when he does performances, his pieces are very creational. Like he contributes to that creative aspect, and really and truly the idea of merging folk together to produce alternative pieces is something that we do even to today. So the reason that we put pride in the belly jig and the belly reel and is the same reason that I'll use Elvis Rajman here because he has this interesting mind where he would like tap into a rhythm and he would say, play this and give me the rhythm from this and create a new rhythm and boom, we have a dance. So things like that. And because of our, as Kevin said, oral tradition of passing things on and no original documentation, we tend to keep passing some, and because nobody has all, people are left to fill those gaps, and those voids are what allow us to create whatever is now the new thing. So
Shonari, a quick question on what you're saying about belly reel and belly jig and all these things. Are you saying it was strictly a creative process that led to these dances being developed? Or does the belly jig and the belly reel have a specific function and purpose behind them? So we know belly, you know jig, but the belly jig.
It's not created in thin air. So all of these dances I would have met these dances because I started to dance very late, right? So I would have met these dances already existing. But you'll be able to say that the belly reel has its spiritual connotations, and this is because of its attachment to the real dance. Right. So in reality, who knows if Mr. James was going, I want to create a new dance, so let me merge the Congo and the belly. Or if he was creating something, and then what we do to define it, because it's very low, it's very African, very, very African, but the movement, the costume and the song and the head tie allow us to call it French. So much so that what is the real category that we would throw it in a competition form? Because similar to what Mr. Berkeley was saying before, stage or the idea of performance always puts authenticity into question. As long as it has to go on the stage, especially in a place like Trinidad and Tobago, what is authentic is always put into question because of our performative nature. So we need to put on a show and the head tie need to rise up to here. And even my father, you need to have a 70 pearls and 60 head tie on your head for it to really be a true form. But what is the documented nature to help us really define any aspect of the culture? So
So let me ask you a quick question.
Okay.
A quick question on the ballet. Because I know
Grand ballet? Oh.
No, well, I know ballet in general has been cast as a French influenced dance, especially here in Trinidad and in the West Village arena. In Tobago, do you all categorize ballet as a French influenced dance, or would you all say it is more African influenced in terms of movement? And I don't know how you all define it.
I would call it French.
You
Yeah.
all say French
we
as well.
define it as French.
So let me just say something here on the Congo ballet and ballet reel, etc. Now you must remember that what happened with us is that we started, as Shonaria correctly said, mimic culture. Now, one of the things that we did as African people is we sort of allowed the massa to believe that we were being good. Well, I don't want to say slaves, but we were going to be good subjects. So what we did is to take what they had and we put our own African spin into it. And so we created our own Africanness using their forms. They would see it and they'll be very happy that these subjects are finally coming around. They are borrowing our culture, not recognizing that the same Congo ballet would start, of course, with the rituals of libation, which they wouldn't do because they don't understand libations. Would also involve a lot of stomping and bending and shifting of the torso, which we call the waist, and which would really mimic the rain dances of the West African people, where you connect with the earth and you stomp and you stomp and you stomp and you stomp because you want to invoke the rain to come, so that the old ask the ancestors to bring the rain so that you could have a good crop of yam, etc., etc. These things are African, and that's what we did all the time. We made these hybrids, and these hybrids were laced with African cultures, African expression, and all African. But it was colored on the outside with the ballroom jig, with the ballroom ballet. So the costume looked somewhat like what they did in the French balls, but they would have had their own significance in the way they wear the under apparel, etc., etc., etc. So that's what we did. It really mimicked, but it was mimicked for a good thing because it was preservation. It was what was used to continue to connect people of one West African bloc who were not talking to each other because of plantation differences, but who responded to the sound of the drum and who identified the movement made as being African, as being Congo people, as being Temne people, as being the people from Ghana. It all was connected because if you look at the Kumina, resembles a lot of the Congo dances in its form. Yeah, so so you could definitely see the connection there. If you see people, these, well, I don't want to say thick, but these are full-bodied. I'm gonna get them on this air because you have to be careful. But if you see these full-bodied women doing comuna and moving really smoothly, and you look at our Miss Leota, Henrietta, and they're doing Congo, it is the same kind of people, the same kind of movement, the same strength in the movement. You see, so the mimic and so the creativity was there because there was the need to fill that spiritual void, that one that made you able to leave yourself, leave the slave self, and for 10, 15, 20 minutes to travel to go to Africa and come back in that same circle, in that same dance for a very few minutes.
So all that being said, is it an African influence dance or is it
French?
French?
What I would say, right?
African onto the French, yeah, sorry.
We use the word influence to try to provide a safe space, right? Because being historical and all of that, technically the ballet would have been influenced. Well, the ballet would have been influenced by the quadrille dance. So the movement patterns that we would have been cultured to know is what we would call ballet. But the reason that we use the term influence is because just like most Caribbean culture, there is no true definition for it. We're using the African drums. The chanting is African. The way in which or what it attempts to evoke is African.
Forms.
The Creoleness in it is more authentic than the French influence. But because we had no I want to say no ability to truly name the forms or create or define the forms, we kind of had to tap into what our influences were. We know that we were taught by the colonizers that this is their language and we are living their language in their religion. So when we're doing the dances, as much as we technically created it as a Caribbean body, we had to find some kind of authority to sign off on it in a sense, so it can become or be deemed acceptable. So asking if the ballet is African or French is kind of asking if calypso is African or French. If soca, which has been a form that derived from, if that is African or French, they're all influenced by something else. And because of the way in which we try to mimic their dress code and that kind of thing, it's honestly more Creole than anything else. But what is Creole? A mixture of two hybrids.
Yeah, and I mean,
yeah, but
like,
Shanaria, however, in 1987, Dr. J.D. Elder created this Tobago Heritage Festival. And he was the Tobago Secretary of Culture, THA Secretary of Culture at the time. And by forming this festival, he had laid down 3 aims of the festival. One of the aims, which I will try to run to, Mr. Berkeley, you could get me here because I think you are the one who was around and do all these things. Those were little children then. But one of the aims was to assist in the preservation of the island's indigenous art forms and the heritage, which has slowly been disappearing. He realized that they were disappearing then. And this Tobago heritage was there to preserve these dances. So if you all say in a way that you came up and you missed it, or you wasn't so much given a lot of demonstration on these past dances, I blame Mr. Berkeley and the era. So Mr. Berkeley want to...
That's what I said, that they missed it.
Well, I think we missed it. We missed the creation. I feel like I was very much taught it. I don't think that I missed it.
Let me answer that. Let me tell you something. And I have to demonstrate this by using the Pembroke example, which I didn't want to do all night because I don't want anybody to be biased.
Go ahead,
now, one of the traditions that happened in my village is our parents took us to this village, wherever they go, they took us as children, right? And as children, we were almost like self-taught, because when you go to these places, those days we was rehearsing in the school, and so they would block off a little area where the children would be, because you carry the children to the rehearsal. They're not supposed to make any noise. They're not supposed to give any troubles, but you put them in a little corner. What would children do normally is look at what the big people are doing and have their own concert down in the back there until the concert get too loud, and then they will come and stop you, and then they quiet down again. But what happened is that you keep going every night, and you grow up looking at the culture, looking at the people dancing, and practicing the dance both in the rehearsal, the night, in your little space, and when you get home. What would happen, and this has happened to me, Karen, Diane, and I think Jessie too, yes, when the big people or the elders may miss a night. So if they miss a night of rehearsal, I'm talking about in the early best village, the 1960s and so on. If they miss one night of rehearsal, you may ask someone of the little ones to just hold this little space, when you're practicing some of the dances. And they say, well, listen, baby Lou and them may come here, so you hold that space here for me. And that little space that you give that young person to hold, they were amazed to see that you know the dance from head to toe, and that you're probably even a little better than some of the elders. So we learned in that manner. So I don't think, as a matter of fact, some people even experience it in the belly, because people would have been pregnant and come to the rehearsals. right? And so once you're in the belly and you know the connection of drums and so to an infant. So some people born with it. I could tell you, and Kevin won't want to admit, but Kevin is somebody who danced all his life from a very little boy. If you send Kevin, the mother send him along the road to buy something, Kevin will dance from home to along the road and dance from there to home. So, and that was his the same thing. You see, these people grew up they didn't miss anything. And that's why what they are doing now is an integral part of what they learned as a child, but they don't bring in their own self and spirit into the thing. And therefore that now brings a form that is even more amazing. And what we do when we do our traditional dances, we stay with the tradition. And we allow these people to express themselves. You say, listen, you go choreograph the Congo belly today, or you choreograph the Kermanti dance and so. And you see the basics is still there, but you see a different kind of form, a different kind of creativity, which is what the evolution of dance and dancing. If we were still dancing in the circle on a tent with the bamboo, with the flambeau, it would have been the same thing. It would have evolved, and
Wendell,
become stronger and more powerful.
It can't evolve
Wendell,
and be the same thing.
Wendell, I heard Channery give me kudos for being creative. I am not creative. I am not creative in a traditional sense. I'm creative in a theatrical sense. Because when I'm doing folk theater, I create from the folk dances. It's called creative use of folk material. But when I'm doing traditional dances, I stick to traditional. Now I have seen as a little boy Tobago come to that Queen's Park Savannah and do ballet dances. And I don't see them anymore. Their head ties were straight up and nicely like a cone. They're the first time I see cone head ties. And Tobago had beautiful a ballet that I used to look out for. But now these days I'm seeing these coming to America, head ties in Tobago. And it is really having me frightened. Because I think you all are the curators of the dance form. You and Miss Berkeley and Miss Alfred and all of these. Miss Alfred, mind you, if Miss Alfred sees something wrong with a belly,
She does
she
say.
gets attacked.
She does
Stop
say.
it.
She does stomp it out.
You cannot wear pink and grey and all those kind of colors in an event. It must be green. And so if you have these people around, don't let the children, I would say, don't let the younger ones create unless they know the traditionality. If you don't know the traditional, do not create. Learn the traditional, then create. And do not call it. You cannot create a dance and call it a ballet.
Right.
Simple. I cannot create a ballet and call it this is a ballet.
Can I interject?
Yes, you can. You're
I
Shanaria.
will not. I am not a person that I would say I'm a dancer because it is what was in the family. It's what was happening at the time. And in Tobago, at least in my household, what the family doing is what you are doing. So that is how I got involved in dance. So I was a person that was always interested in the information aspect of whatever we're doing because that's just who I am. So I honestly am not as in it in that sense, but I will not blame the adults for the lack of development, or I will not blame Tobagonians in the lack of development in Tobagonians being a part of the process. The reason that, or what Dr. J.D. Elder was trying to do with the Heritage Festival is create a platform that allows us to have a reason to go through the process. So rehearsals, if you're going to learn. Somebody's going to tell you something, even if it's like by pickup nature, by small culture, yes. And then that ability and the consistency of having to travel over to Trinidad and competing is what sparks an interest in all of the young people that made them want to be a part of something. Why I think that Tobago is no longer a part of the heritage of the Best Village, or why Tobago is not in Best Village the right way, is because of Trinidadians. And why I would say that is because Trinidadians have competitively run Tobagonians out of the Best Village. The reason I'm saying that, let me say it clear, I am not speaking on behalf of my father. When I speak, people assume that I'm speaking on behalf of the information provided by Jesse. This is my opinion, so in no way it should be represented by him. What I am saying is, as a child, I attended the Best Village competitively. Every year I go down, there's a cuss out. Every year I go down, there's a fight down. Every year I go down, something doesn't fit well with what the Trinidad has molded the best village to be. So when we don't fit into the Trinidad mold, it finds people pulling out, it finds group mashing up, it sees the benefits dwindling, and Tobago does not provide enough performance ability outside of the Heritage Festival to keep children involved. So when the children are leaving and the teenagers leaving and then the adults leaving, it now leaves the people who have no choice. And people who have no choice to be a part of culture doesn't really have a real need to tap into anything real. So why you're seeing the wrong culture represented by Tobago is because who is representing it anymore? Shakil is in the States going to school. I am in Trinidad and I am a promoter. I am into fete, carnival, and culture second. I into fete first, and I into carnival, culture, and history second. But a lot of the people that are not me or were not, and as Mr. Berkeley rightfully said, were not benefited by the Tobago niche of it. You live here, so you do it. You in it. You had to come and drum. If I tell my father I don't want to go and dance, you better go and dance, because they were finding a way to tap into something that we could want to be a part of. But after Amelia, every time you go down, we have to stay in the St. Anne's, and then when we walk across and we're happy and we reach outside, we dance isn't good enough, the this isn't good enough. You see people that actually know pulling out, and what you have inside is a bunch of people who wanted children to dance anything. No, so I want to try to dance. I sent you to Mr. Evim. I call him nobody name. We sent you to Sprite class and Coca-Cola class. Coca-Cola not right enough to teach nobody nothing, but that is the only person left because of the too competitive of a nature of the best village, and that's in my humble opinion. I mean, I could bash the heritage, but I mean, I'm focusing on the question that was asked.
In terms of what he was saying with regards to the misrepresentation, I would just like to jump back to something that Mr. Berkeley said earlier on with respect to the whole idea of competition and the idea of giving your things when you get to that point. And I feel that in half is what would have contributed to the whole head tie situation that Gregoire would have pointed out. But for me, as somebody who practices the culture, it goes beyond costume. And one of the things that I pay attention to is meaning behind dances, why they were done, where they come from. I'm not saying that the way in which they dress is not an integral part, but what I'm saying, there is more to it than the costume. And I feel like, well, I can speak for me and a few others, that in Tobago, when we look at culture and the type of dances that we do, I feel like there's a very honest investment in terms of understanding what it is that we are doing and why we want to do it. And that is why the culture is as strong as it is.
I want to ask you a question. Now, I'm a secondary school teacher, and I know in Trinidad there are not much. Well, that's a while now. That's 10 years, Shonaria. But although I was your lecturer at UB,
yeah,
she's my student. Yes, but I'm also in the secondary school, and I see that as our platform here in Trinidad to pass on our culture, because a lot of the children in school, they don't go to any dance class. And trust me, without my class, I think they would not be exposed to any kind of form of culture, singing, drumming, dance, any kind of history, anything like that. So I'm glad that we have that platform. Now, y'all are the teachers, but your generation seem to be the teachers now that are bringing out groups and teaching the younger ones. Do y'all think that you all have enough information to pass on to the younger ones to keep your traditions authentic? I know you all, Mr. Berkeley, talk about evolving. But if it keeps evolving, do you all think you all have enough information to teach them the original, authentic dances, movements, songs, history about it, whatever? Your generation, do you think you all have enough information?
What I would say is, and I could speak for me personally as someone who endeavors to teach dance, I am never going to stand and say that I have all the information. And what I do as someone who practices culture is anytime I am in a position where I have to teach, even today, there are things that I would know, but I would still go to persons who have more experience than me. I come from a village where there are persons that are 70 years old, 80 years old that are still well and capable enough to share their experiences. And I have people in my back pocket like Mr. Berkeley and Karen Berkeley who I continuously go to. Right. So for me, anytime I approach a situation where I have to teach, I always, and even if I start doing the work, I say to them, I say, this is what I have done. What should I fix? What needs it? Is this right? Is this not right? I think what our generation needs to do is not think about wanting to come and take over, because at the end of the day, we had to learn the information from somewhere. We don't have all the answers. And even though we want to create, and even though we want to do all these type of things that we want to see and we want to explore, at the end of the day, when you're talking history, culture, and tradition, it comes from a very important place. And that is not something that you want to lose. I am therefore saying, to me, there should always be a balance. I would also go into the whole idea of trying to start documenting things, because we have these walking libraries going around and they're not going to be there forever. Gregoire is not going to be there forever. Mr. Berkeley is not going to be there forever. So I believe that, if we're really serious about ensuring that tradition continues 10, 20, 30 years down the road, we need to start recording, either by writing or video or these type of things. And again, not to just bring Pembroke in the spotlight, but we have really started to do things like that. We had one of the eldest female drummers alive. She was 92, I think, when she died. And what we did was took her to the studio and, try to really come to the nitty-gritty of all the traditional rhythms and how they were played. So we have a very strict library, a strict way in which we do things in Pembroke. And I could say that there are persons around the Tobago culture. I mean, Gregoire has a lot of experience with Annette Alfred. Miriam Scott, she's there. And, these persons, we seek validation from them in terms of finding out, is this right? Last year, we had the Carrie Festa in Trinidad, and I had the opportunity to also lead the Tobago contingent. And I had to choreograph something for the Decades of Dance show, and we wanted to do the Ajaja, and we mixed that with elements of the Saraka. And that was an idea that we discussed in the office. But we didn't just take it and say, this is what we're going to do. We had to consult the necessary people. We brought in Miriam there because she's the expert on the Ajaja on the island at this point in time. And she had to lay out for us, if it is this is what we wanted to do, this is how it would work, and this is how we must approach it. So again, like I would plead, I'm not saying that I have enough information, but it's how we go about it. If I know Mindy is good in something, I will have to come and say, well, Mindy, I want to do a limbo. I could come and tell me what I need to do, how it is go. I know this is what has happened, but explain to me in further detail. If I want to know how to be creative in a theatrical sense about the back dance, I go to Gregoire and ask the same thing. So it's all about tapping into the resources that you have and using it for a measure of continuity and longevity with regards to tradition and cultural art forms.
Totally agree. But Shaquille and the panel, you said something about costume.
Mm-hmm.
But I have seen coming out of some groups Spanish things being used for ballet.
Right.
And it doesn't resonate well with me. Because if I know ballet is supposed to be, or how I know ballet as a young boy growing up, and how I passed it on to the younger generation like Jamila, Toy, Phillips, and Dolores, and all of these people, even Tobago. Well, when I come to Tobago, I have no problem with costume. I go Annette Alfred like the queen of costume.
Right.
And when you see these things, it interfere with your psyche because it's supposed to be a French dance, and they're not using the duet in the way how it's supposed to be, and they're using the wrong material. All these things have a psychological effect on me, and sometimes I go crazy. And so with all that in mind, I really wanted to say is that I have listed about 10 dances or 9 dances of Tobago.
Mm-hmm.
I think with the Wendell Berkeley, this is for you also. I think with the amount of experienced people in Tobago, I must tell you, I have seen some of the most brilliant people came out of Tobago. Dr. Rowley is one of them. I mean, when you hear Dr. Rowley's portfolio, I hear people want to say Dr. Rowley, this and that, but when you read Dr. Rowley's portfolio,
right,
you're sharp. So you hear this. I feel Tobago dancers because you all don't have much to do like us here in Trinidad. Come on. I've lived in communities in Tobago. I live in Pembroke for almost, I know Shanaria as a little child. I've been with all these little children inside Pembroke RVC school trying to teach them how to dance before. I've been alone. Was there from 3 until, and then Shanaria was never she was always a left foot dancer. And 4 years after, I came back and I see Shadira as one of the top dancers in Tobago. Be careful where you put the children, people. Be
No,
careful
but
with the children.
well, allow me to interject. I mean, I listening to you, but for me, again,
Well, if you interject and I did not listen, I didn't finish. Right. Well, but coming back to that, I will interject. You get a chance.
No, okay.
And I feel like Tobago, and you being one of the young ones, Elvis and all of them, and you being one of the young ones not coming out of academia, I think if you all get together and sit down and notate these dances here that we call out, we could get something happening, you know. We could get something happening from Tobago because Trinidad have a lot, and Trinidad dances are way too tainted right now. We have to sit down on a panel and get together and find a way to get together. It's too tainted. But you all are not so tainted as our dances. And I think you all better start that now.
Okay. Can I interject?
Of course, you're not interjecting, you're talking.
Listen, I definitely listen, and that's why I'm interjecting.
Right.
But I wanted to interject twice. The question is, the comments are coming up on the screen below. Those are things I want to comment on, right? But let me go back to specifically to your question, well, a statement, and then to Karen or Mr. Sergeant, right? So your question, you guys, what you said is the end about Tobago documenting the information so we can have something to produce, right? As much as we want to think that Tobago is such a magical place that we can wake up and put our heads together and create a book on it, that's not how psychology of the Caribbean and the politics of Tobago works. It doesn't work like that. A million times, and this is me speaking from experience, me being who I am, and by who I am, I mean Jessie daughter. If I say on Facebook, we need to stand together for Tobago, but who she is, what she want to listen, what must she for? If Kevin, he too pushy, he too who is he doesn't come away from Pembroke. So the information that you want to give us in regards to what you think we should do is not something that we really can just do. Look at for 400 years, people still trying to argue Black Lives Matter. In the Heritage Festival is 33 years old. We can't. Right, 33. We still and get the opportunity as youths to truly stand up and say anything. So what I think is supposed to happen is that the persons in charge, the people sitting down in position and calling themselves, I am the secretary of, they are the people that are supposed to, and not just ask us. Hire the people that have gone out and studied, spend their hard-earned money and get a degree and masters and certificates and spend months and weeks and hours and years dancing in the ground and the hard foot and everything that they do, and pull them together and ask us to be a part of the experience. I'm not saying it have to be me, I'm not saying it have to be Jesse, but for all the years that Mr. Berkeley sit down and write and, oh, he's the Saraka King whole day, nobody has ever pulled him from their position to pull the information from him. And it is not, as much as I would like to think we should be a part of the mission, it is not our job. It is not our portfolio. My job is to go to school, get an education, and get a work. That's my job as a person right now. It is the people that are sitting in these positions that are supposed to create avenues for such creations. Tapping into the last point that you made in regards to the inauthenticity of what is being, or the first inauthenticity of what is being produced from Tobago, which is similar to what Karen said below with the choreographers from Tobago and the cringing and all of that.
Right.
This is how Tobagonians sit in the audience and attempt to look at Trinidadians, attempt Tobago culture. We sit down and go, and nobody from Trinidad ever comes and, well, barely ever, comes and say, oh, Tobago, teach me this. Tobago, give me a workshop, let me learn this. They said they're doing a Congo, everybody high, running across the floor, doing African inside of the back, they're doing a Coromante, calling the Congo, they just do what they want. And the reason that is not because of any one person, any one island, any one power structure. It is because of competition. The idea of competition and our performative culture is forcing us to redefine creation. When they got on with the bad where's cotton dress and the plaid, and then somebody else come with 70 yards of satin and 2 rods in the skirt, and that person then wins because the incorrect people have now judged the show. People say, but wait, how I do the right thing and they win? So then they say, all right, well, next year
Agreed.
I get 80 yards of satin. Because I am sick and tired of hearing people, a lot of people, both in Trinidad and Tobago, have always the only thing I would say is my father like color and he like cloth. But a lot of people in Trinidad and Tobago have always accused him of the plenty cloth and the plenty color. But that is because for years of originality, authenticity, and whatever he's delving his creation from, we have seen that what is being put across both the heritage and the best village stage is not what is representative of the culture.
Exactly.
So as much as Tobago and doing it, Trinidad not doing it neither, and they're winning. And we
And
don't call
just
no
to
name,
add
but
to
they are
that-
groups getting countless titles, and I sit down and watching them do the wrong thing.
And just
So
to add to that,
it's everybody.
Separate and apart from the whole fact of the right people judging, there's also, to me, for competition from a national standpoint, an imbalance, especially knowing and identifying the fact that the way in which, even though we are one country, we practice the way we practice culture is different. And there has been no support within the judging arena or anyone on the panel that would support or knows about Tobago culture. So therefore, how do you define and how do you look at the competition? What is the ballet? And we have different strands of the ballet in Tobago, and it's like a French influence, yes, but we have our variants of that, and Trinidad have their variants of that. But who is to say it is not ballet? So when we come to the competition and it is and you have all the judges from Trinidad, who is there to stand in on behalf of Tobago to say, well, okay, we understand that this is what Tobago
even just
offers?
standing on behalf of Tobago.
I have been in competition. I have been in competition with Tobago, and I got licks back left and center. I came second that year. Everything you'd quick did. You and you played 8 of the competition dances. They even won the best chutney and be the Indian groups.
Right.
So, and it was Trinidad judges.
I was going to say, my question is
so it was again to say, I went home, I didn't do like Tobago. I went home, get me licks, and I come back. And I get licks again the next year, I come back.
But Greg, let me tell you this, Greg. Tobago exiting Best Village goes beyond what me and you would see within the competition. These are things, the problem exists at the administrative level, and this is things that we're not talking about. It is not just about the competition, It is not just about the competition.
Can you explain a little about can you explain a little more on the
Okay, so we're talking about a group of people, let me say every year, from my little boy, since it had junior Best Village, I come into Trinidad Best Village. And we have to get up late in the night, catch them days was the panorama, I catch the panorama 11 o'clock. You're coming down, you're reaching 6 o'clock. When they're done now, the ministry, they're putting you in these kind of places, very uncomfortable spaces. They had to stay, and you had to endure this weekend after weekend after weekend after weekend. People leaving their comfortable homes, their comfortable bed, their concrete floor where they like to dance on home that is comfortable for them, just to represent Tobago and be a part of something, a part of the national community. And this is the treatment that we're getting. It goes beyond the competition. And we were not treated fairly in that regard. We were seen as dogs and not as human beings. And that is partly or most of the reasons why we would have fallen out of the competition.
And
did you take this up with the authorities?
Not even just,
of course,
the places that we were put to stay. It's not even that. It's the over competitive environment of. So it wasn't that if Trinidad groups individually treated Tobagonian groups as a competitive group, then it would be different, but it wasn't that. It was Tobago. So because Kevin and I were dancing in the same space. I was with my daddy, that's the culture club, Kevin with Pembroke, whoever, Youth Quick, Rhythm Babes, whoever it is. We all go to Trinidad. All are we staying in the same place because Tobago is Tobago. All are we walk inside on one energy. The mess is Tobago. I am speaking from the personal experience of being going up for the Miss Lara Nuve as a Tobagonian in such a pageant, and the kind of experience that I had to endure. And nothing is ever balanced. Trinidad doesn't behave as though it's one, at least from my perspective, that it's one country. So we need to now share the responsibilities, or we need to now make things a bit more balanced. Why is it that we have to fly down same day, perform same day, and fly home when people in Trinidad just getting in a car and coming up the road and perform and go back down? Why is it that every year, the rules change, and it seems to always lean towards a readjustment that can always commit to whatever Trinidad is developing the culture to be. If the Best Village was supposed to happen this year, the rules that they provided for that ballet for the belly dance. And you could only do one flat belly, is you saying Tobago should not bring Tobago to the competition.
Right.
And this is why we end up forcing ourselves into categories that we may not see ourselves the most fond or the most comfortable. And then they're doing things like African mean everything African. So then when Northwest come, I don't want to call no names. When Northwest come and run across the stage with 70 dancers and every drum, whether it's African or not, and this drum and they do the most in this dance, and then we come and say, well, we're going to give it the authentic Igbo because we want to tap into this Sarka feast, and then they say, it was authentic, but we like the vibe of the 70 people and the 70 drum, and we like the 50 cost, and then we can't bring 70 people because Tobago, remember, you have a budget. Remember, we can only accommodate you in this space. Remember, and now you can't even dance internal. So the rules keep adjusting, and the people have to keep pulling out because it is no longer something that youth can see as fun. And we have to be real. Youths don't have to be a part of culture because they want to learn. We have to provide comfortable spaces for people to join, and then after learning, they say, "All right, I like this, and I want to stay."
I wanted to say something. If I could just say something, I listen to all the issues and so on. Why, there have always been these discussions. These are not new discussions. Let me say that. Since Tobago have been going to Best Village, there have always been a lot of differences of opinion in terms of how you deal with the Tobago Trinidad, coming together issue. That's a usual issue. But the thing is, in terms of that whole set of arrangements, that's probably something that we need to work out at the administrative level, let me call it that. Because there are also issues. I mean, I've been around in Trinidad for some time and in the cultural arena, and I know at sometimes South feels the same way Tobago feels in the Trinidad space in competitions. So there's always all these dynamics, all these things that are happening. And I guess it's something that we all need to deal with, up front. Maybe have the necessary panels and sort out that part of the story, the administrative part. But there's a real significant cultural difference that must be appreciated because one size will not fit all. And I think that's what caused the trying to create these hybrids. Gregor, you said that Tobago bongo, it has all the parts of a traditional bongo yard. But when you put it on the stage for competition, it's gotta be within 5 or whatever minutes.
4 minutes.
Whatever minutes they give you. And there's no way. So there's no way you could do a traditional Tobago bongo in 4 minutes. Because traditional Tobago bongo starts with the nursery rhymes, builds into the zamnatut, gets in, and it's that whole drama, that whole bongo play, if you want to call it that, is 20-25 minutes long. So when you have to bridge it now into 4 minutes, then you have to take out and put in and take out, and then sometimes you lose the very essence. And what you're really judging is probably a choreographed piece. And then the choreographer whose imagination maybe goes beyond the wildest wild may prevail. And therefore, I'm sure they're correct, when you experience that, when you come back next year, I know people like Raymond and Terry and you, Gregor, came up to Tobago. You know why you all came? It's because people say, you see that we could choreograph it together, whatever fellas, and there was something that let us do that we working in Trinidad. I remember I wanted a lot of work with youth quick. And I have interacted with most of you all, and all of you good. But the bottom line is that kind of competition, and I said that from the beginning of this conversation, the competition is a destroying factor because there's authenticity and then there's competition. Competition means, let me just give you one more thing before I finish. I went to Trinidad as a traditional drummer, where our drums were Congo drums, what we call Congo drums, made out of the box, the barrel that the meat used to come in, and so fastened with cymbal jack and all that. And we went and we played good drums. I remember one year we went down and we were playing and thing, because our drum heritage is rich. But here's something: somebody came with a cutter made from the plastic X-ray skin, and the cutter was sharp and rigid. It took over the whole of Queen's Hall and it was sounding good. But the next year we abandoned ship, get with PVC pipe and go down with the plastic. And it's after a while, Imela Cookshang and they said, no, them thing making too much noise in my head. Let me go back to where the chant and the drum is in unison because the chant and the drum belongs together. So that's one example that I will never, like one thing I never forget. When we went into the plastic cutter, and now I will always give Norman Fullerton the praises for this. When he bought more sham, and we went back to the goatskin djembe, and now the djembe, you don't have any plastics and so around, hardly really, you know. We have the djembe now, goatskin drums, and most people are playing the djembe, and we the tradition came back. So maybe one of the positive things that happened with Best Village, that we went off, and then we came back, and I must credit Norvan for that in his time when Mocham, the Senegalese drummer, came.
That was Joyce Wong Sang.
It was Joyce?
Yeah, it was Joyce, 1983. Mosham Akan's father. It was 1983. He came and that song, right?
But
when Mosham
was a part of it also.
When Mosham, no, Fullerton wasn't Malik at the time. He was competing against me. He beat me. When Mosham came, he also changed something in the Best Village because he brought the West African style. And I think that had an effect. Everybody around that time just want to play djembe. They forget the rest of drummers, drumming, the bass and the
cutter, fuller.
The fuller. They forget those things. Every young drummer want to walk with a djembe around his neck. That's what
yeah. But you see, eventually it brought back the goatskin drum into the picture. And the djembe is an instrument. And if you don't understand it, it will frustrate you. Because a lot of the drummers eventually went back to the traditional drum and used only the one djembe as a cutter. Yeah? Until you had Terry and Dave down in South with what's his name? You know Terry and Dave Ujama. And they and Masika and they were doing purely West African. And so the whole drum and psalm came back to life as the West African drum and psalm supposed to be. But usually, even by Terry, you know, we're playing the djembe as the cutter and the other traditional drums because the djembe frustrated other people because they didn't understand the instrument too well until eventually it evolved. But I'm saying it brought back into the space the goatskin drum.
Okay.
Yeah. What I want to add on what he said is that I think that it's not just also what Shakil said is that I think that the team that is supposed to be managing this festival, or I don't know if it's a festival competition, I guess, should also in the planning team, the execution team should also include Tobagonians. And this is not because Gregor, I know you like to come for people, so I'm not coming for no Trinidad. I'm not coming for you either. I do not think that even somebody who has spent their lifetime in Tobago could ever truly understand the perspective of a Tobagonian. The same way I do not think any Tobagonian can effectively represent Trinidad, which is why when they had to do the Bel Air festivals in Tobago, they would always pull a Trinidadian element on the team for the discussion and the creation to understand what elements we need to add. The same thing needs to be done for the Best Village competition. We need to, from planning stage, have, well, I mean, I don't know if Tobago even interested anymore, but we need to, from planning stage, have somebody on the team that's employed there to be a part of the moving forward.
I think there need to be a unification where the culture is concerned, and the only how that can happen is if Tobago is in. There is a Tobago representative on the Panchenbago, also on Tuku, and I really feel you all need to have a representative and be heard on NDA, the National Dance Association, and also the Best Village. I am the education officer of the newly formed Best Village Association. And I really would like you all to have a representative there. I don't know if you all could organize, and I will send you the link and you all can talk to the president and say how you all would like to be represented. Because Tobago definitely need a voice. I heard everything. I'm going back to Dr. J.D. Elder. I'll tell you why. Dr. J.D. Elder had a vision. And his vision was the preservation and the sustenance of the Tobago's dances and cultural art form. And I think right now, I am not seeing that. Over the years, I've been watching Tobago heritage. I am not seeing that heritage of before the show and the opening show. I'm seeing a lot of collaborations and introductions and
Inclusion.
include. Well, if I say inclusions, I must say I even saw Brian McFarlane. I almost faint. So those things have a psychological effect on me because when I come to Tobago, I want to see Tobago. You know what I mean? I want to see Tobago so that when I come back to it and I said, no. This is how you do the Congo ballet. Go down low, get low, lift your hands up in the air, look like a donkey, get down. I will do those things because I'm listening to you all. And if I'm not seeing that, it scares me. So you all want to explain a little why Tobago is really diverting from the true authenticity of their dances and including all these modern and these contemporary things.
So I pass this one to Mr. Berkeley and Kevin because I could get passionate on this topic.
I love you, Shanaria Coco.
To me, and this is just based on my whole involvement with the whole concept of tourism and cultural tourism and that type of thing in terms of packaging and putting forward to the rest of the world. I think aesthetically, we would have gravitated towards the whole idea of export, right? And we try to improve the aesthetics of the product in terms of providing it to invite persons to come in to see. In terms of the traditional being upheld and kept, in terms of my involvement and what it is that I received from the persons like Mr. Berkeley and so forth, I cannot stand here and listen and say that that Tobago has moved away from its culture, because even though we would have those frameworks, is it that you're saying that the lights and the glitz and the glamour is what takes away from the whole idea of the product? But to me, I still feel within those shows, there is the authenticity of the culture. We still do the dances that the way they're supposed to do. We still bring the costume to the forefront. But I would support you in the terms of saying that when we look at the whole idea of export and tourism and crafting a product, we would have really shifted the aesthetic in terms of what it looks like. But when it comes to the package, not the package, sorry, the whole idea about maintaining traditions within the dances, I believe that they're still there because I have been a part of those productions. And to me, based on what I have been taught culturally, it comes through those productions.
You ever thought that there were some people in my class who danced with me, and I saw them later on choreographing and teaching the same things that I learned. And boy, you would be in shock. You would be in shock to think that these same people learn in the same class with me because of the things they're teaching. You ever think, because sometimes, you might feel, as a young one, you might feel that you are teaching the right thing because you're including yourself in it, and this is how I feel it should be in the 21st century. And that's where Wendell Berkeley and Miss Karen Berkeley and Miss Miriam Scott and all these people, Akilse, all these people come into play. Because they're supposed to really get... Now, if a young dancer in Trinidad and Tobago, like Simeon, when he did a dance, and if it's not good, I go up to them and tell them, brother man, a Congo is dumb.
Right.
You cannot do... A Congo is dumb. You're flipping, you're waving too much skill. And they'll say I have an attitude. That's okay. I have the attitude, but I am going to fight for the traditional because I'll tell you why. 5 years from now, you already all tainted things. Nobody will help you all. Because
and that is exactly what I'm saying. And then also you can't hold the opening at ransom because to me it is put out there as the grandeur of the festival. It is that moment. But when you go into the villages and the communities, that is where the integrity of the thing really is. The opening is just that, the grandeur of the festival. This is what starts the thing, and we started in a big way. But you would know, because you're there for years. When we got to Charlottesville, there is nothing different about Charlottesville, and I would leave my house every year, and go up to Charleville, do the trek from up at Campbelltown, come down, watch the washing of the dead bed, do all those things. So as I said to you, when we're looking at packaging and we're looking at the whole idea of cultural tourism, that is where we would have changed the aesthetics in terms of the bigger shows. But I feel the essence of the Tobago Heritage Festival still lies there, and it lies within the communities, the shows that the communities put forward.
Okay, let me interject, Kevon, but weirdly in advocate of Gregor's perspective, right? What I think he's saying, or what I thought he was asking or stating, is that the intention of the Heritage Festival is what is not being met. Yes, I will not pinpoint the villages, but there are 3 villages to me that have kept the authenticity of their product. And there's one village that is guaranteed to give us a good show, and that is because of their natural ability to entertain. If you take entertainment value away and 2 villages' ability to keep authentic tradition, the Heritage Festival serves no purpose. The same people doing the same things, nobody's learning anything new to me. I think people enjoy the Charleville, because I see people who just took the day off work and go to Charleville and they're going every year, and they just, because of the experience that it brings and their ability to commit to it. Pembroke can never host a show and not sell it out, and Lekito is guaranteed to entertain. But when we think about the fact that, let's just say somebody's supposed to, or our ability to package all of this experience into our opening night has not been achieved in about 5 years. Our ability to add to the spectacle has not been achieved in the 5 years. Anything outside of these village shows and finding people willing to learn and actually passing on or preserving any part of the tradition or the culture, to me, has not been achieved in 5 years. So much so that probably longer, but 5 years is how long I've been out of it. So 5 years is what I'm thinking. But even with the heritage queens, the heritage personality, even that show has become less about finding ways to enact tradition or detail history, and has become a spectacle of how good your gown could look, and if Jessie Queen could beat Kevon Queen, and if they with the gun in tongue and parade and wave their hand, like if we're trying to put on Coming to America, as Greggy said. So I honestly think, and that's why I didn't want to comment, because I'm not going to go any further, because I'm going to start to pick point where it's breaking apart. But it really is. The purpose of the Heritage Festival is to find a way to promote or redocument or reevaluate the history of the island. And I do not think that except for a small group of villages, that is being done. So it's better the Heritage say we're having a Heritage start July 11th and Heritage done July 15th. We got Charlotte, we got Pembroke, go Lekito, and go what's their name? Mariah. And then we stay away, because when is the last time we don't count, because we know. So it's right. We know enough. It doesn't mean enough to us. But there's no young person. In fact, Tyrese loves to dance. Tyrese probably cannot tell me nothing about the bongo. Tobagoans that I know love to dance. Choreographers in Tobago cannot tell me nothing that they didn't learn in a dance studio from opening night rehearsal, because we do not know. We are not teaching, we are not educating. The purpose of the Heritage Festival is not being met. The entertainment value is not being met. So the show has become a waste of time and money.
Mr. Berkeley, I heard that you wanted to. Thank you, Shalaria.
Thank you very much.
Really interesting. Mr. Berkeley?
So I would say that you know, an event that is 30-something years old, for those years, would have gone through its own evolution, and therefore there are times that you have to sit back and reevaluate and move forward. Now, let me say one thing. I do not totally agree that the traditions have been lost. There are some areas that needs to revert or to go back to its moorings. There are some areas that have kept the tradition clear. Now, what is the difference and what is the problem? The village base is what the Tobago Heritage Festival ought to be and was supposed to be and should be. And in some instances, you have people coming together to mount a village production. When I say that, they're not genuine villagers who live there per se, but they come together to do something. Some of the groups pull people here and pull people there. And I feel the understanding of the tradition is what is creating some of the issues. Let me explain. Now, in Pembroke, we do sacrifice because it was done as a tradition a very long time ago in the 50s, etc. And we do it in a two-part kind of manner. What we do a stage presentation where, and over the years, it has been highly fused with a lot of spiritualism. But we also do our own self-analysis and cleansing and connecting. Because what we do is we have something called ancestral awakening. We have something called the traditional morning ritual. And, it is a place where you find the space that exists there that connects you with the elders who would have done this thing before. And whether or not you have a spiritual connection or a genetic connection, there is a connection. Because most of the people who participate in the festival in Pembroke are the descendants of the people who practiced the thing before. You heard Shanaria said, great grandfather, and they were people who practiced. So everybody could trace themselves back to where it began. And otherwise they're performing, and so they will be connecting to stories that they would have been told about their grandparents from their mother or their grandfather, etc. And therefore you have that kind of whole village community connection that really genuinely give thanks to the elders for where we are now. For example, you have Shanaria, you have Shakil, and then there are more to come. I was just telling Karen that one day, I said, what is going to happen is that when they feel we're done, you have more to come, because there are more people, there are more young people who will come. Just recently came up as a little fella dancing. If you see me in some of the Pembroke school pictures, you would know, you will want to already see. I saw a child coming to dance with Jesse, and I'm saying, for us, this is more than really just participating in heritage. We all our folks, and I mean we are big folks. Jesse, Elvis, myself, Karen. I mean we in Tobago would have led the way in other cultural activities, but we come to Pembroke to celebrate for maybe little or no money. But when we get there, we do it because of what it did for all of us. Where it sent all of us, and it is sending more. I mean, I am sure Shakil is gonna evolve into something great eventually. Well, maybe greater, I should say. I should say something great. Maybe something greater. And I know, and I want to say this on this live, and to Trinidad and Tobago. Shakil is homegrown in Pembroke. Homegrown. And now evolving into the bigger stage. Homegrown through the traditions and through everything. And that is the point I'm making with our testimony of Tobago heritage. We could say that has helped all of us. Because 30 years ago, Jesse and Elvis are older than them, and so all of us were teenagers, young fellas, doing this thing for the love. And therefore we have evolved. I mean, Elvis is a dance master somewhere, Jesse is in culture. I have done my own bit. The bottom line, the point I'm making, we can't throw the baby with the bathwater. Some things have slipped, and I am agreeing with you, Gregor. But some things have remained, and some people have found their foundations in the culture and the practice of culture, and they be doing different things. That girl Alfred who used to sing and so on used to be with the youth quick or the doctor. Some people have choose different careers. They have qualified in the different fields. They're not practicing as Shanaria and they'll be practicing, but they have the foundation. They've moved on a bit, but they come back from time to time to remember what has happened. So in some instances, you're correct, because you'll always have that. You had the spillage in this village, so you had that. Because Imelda will tell you, and I saw the first interview also, Imelda will tell you that, and Imelda has been around for a long time. I know Imelda a long time. And Imelda would tell you that she is somebody who is still the holder of the traditions. But you have some other people who have been dabbling, and that's a Trinidad scenario. In Tobago, it's the same thing. You have people who hold the traditions dearly to their stomach, and you have some people who create a number of things. And it's gonna happen. But we gotta just try to keep the ship steady and ensure that the authenticity and the culture remains as it was in the foundation.
But Wendell, now this is my point here. In Russia, there was a dance called the Kurovod. The Kurovod is an ancient sun dance going around the sun, and a pagan dance.
Mhm.
Everybody youngster have to learn this Kurovod and pass it on to the younger generation. Shanaria and Kevon must
Right.
be less than 30 years old. And I am certain
Mhm.
Shanaria and Kevon right now will tell me, I want to experiment on the belly because I'm bored. Now, these are the things that you cannot get bored because you see, we just learn the movement. Some people just learn the movement and they think they have it. They haven't learned why the spiritual side of it. They haven't learned. They have a lot of things with our folk dance. And I think we are not training children that. And all the children and the teenagers are learning is the movement. And then after they learn the movement, they look good. Somebody tell them they look good. And bam, they're bored. They want to create and fuse. And next thing you hear, belly this and belly that, and you know what I mean? What I'm saying, I believe personally you cannot fuse, you cannot create unless you know the original.
Right.
I
If you
agree.
know the original, then you could create from.
I agree.
But people don't know the original and they're creating.
But you
And
see,
that is scary.
but
And if
Gregor,
you only, I put you and Miss Karen Berkeley,
Miss
and all those
Karen.
Karen
Karen.
Berkeley and Miss Karen Berkeley, and
Yes.
all those,
but
I put senior
yeah,
cultural people. I put you all in charge. I call you all the curators of the art form. And if Charlie and them do nonsense, I wouldn't be blaming them, I'm blaming you all.
Mm.
So you all better look at yourself
well,
carefully, passing on them traditions and what they're
no,
doing.
I and that's why I told you that when we perform, there are two facets to the thing, because performing in heritage is not a competition, so we are able to do the whole stuff. These two persons, they can tell you that they are very much a part of all the traditions that we do. We do all the libations, we do everything. And I mean, you can't get away because Jesse is not going to sit down and not let it happen the way it ought to happen. Right? But that is what we do. Now, I'll tell you something else, an important point that you mentioned. You go into the schools, you want to teach the bongo ritual, or you want to teach the bongo.
Yeah.
Yet, you might have parents and other people who might be uptight and say that you're teaching the children sacrilegious practices. What do you do then? You have the thing on the curriculum also where they pay you to do something. You teach the basic bongo. But you will know that bongo is highly ritualistic. Bongo is sending the spirit from here into the afterlife. And all those passing between the leg and out and in and all that simulates fertility rituals that we call a S word. And it is because out of the death of the person, you're supposed to, at the end of the ritual, there should be new life. No, you go to school and teach them that.
Yeah, but we probably wouldn't teach it to kids. Cause in the jump, when I now start dancing, we couldn't do it. But then by the time I got to ending of teenage years, so for heritage and we reaching core, well, that's what we call the group that has to perform. People that was my age, well, people my age now that I was then, so people who young could do it now. So, but what we see a lot of, especially in Tobago, in academia, is that Tobago or education in Tobago employs theater art teachers, and then the theater art teachers will teach theater and then tell the children about dance. So when people were learning it from school and then going forward, no, the theater arts teachers teaching theater arts and then mention dance in the corner. So then what you end up getting is this. Let me invite Kevon used to go to Pembroke School and he lived around the road. Let me call Kevon to come and teach him a dance quick. So there's no consistency. So there's no reason that Kevon can go through an accurate process of you start here, you get here. Let me teach. So you have 1 hour. The one evening that you and stay back and take off the shot in the corner. And in that 1 hour, you now have to teach everything that you have to know. So there is no real, so like I said, as much as Gregor is saying he blamed the Mr. Berkeley and Mr. Berkeley saying we know enough to move on, it is not something that we can initiate or start. I cannot tell how many years both Shaquille and I would have had to go in Pembroke School and just teach for the sake of teaching. It's just come and teach them something in the corner because that is what is supposed to happen. So maybe it runs very differently in Trinidad. But the reason that we skip on authenticity is for 3 reasons. The first reason is there's no real platform. The second reason is once you used to dance, you know a dancer. And when you're a dancer, you don't have to know nothing. I could dance, I had the skill. So I could teach people to right now. Right. And the same way that the ballet or the tap or whatever other type of dances is now documented and there is something to pass on. Everybody in Tobago, based on where you're from, have different interpretations of the same pieces that are not the ones that are attached to areas.
Sonaria, I want to ask you a question. Sonaria, yes. I just want to ask you a question. We're talking about preservation, authenticity, and a while ago you brought up the point that it wasn't your job or Kevin's job because you're now you studied in a different area and dance is coming second and whatever. But I wanted to find out, because I also lecture at UWI in the dance unit, I wanted to find out how important is getting an education at UWI or UTT or getting the experience through there, how important it is for a person to get that experience to be able to come back now and I don't know, codify, authenticate.
I don't think it, honestly, I do not think
how the UWI situation, situation fits in there.
They need to go to school. No insult to either program. No insult to anybody who went to any of these schools and studied dance or who's teaching, so no insult to either of you on the panel. But I do not think in Tobago, and probably in Trinidad, but in Tobago I speak for, you need to go to school and study dance to come back and appropriately produce culture. It helps. Maybe at the level that Shaquille reached out with the masters, where he would learn how to teach better, how to.
That's what I'm asking. How important it is for people to probably get that level of education. If it's necessary, is it not necessary?
What have you done in UWI? What have you done? What have you done, Valeria?
What did you study in UWI?
What did you study in UWI?
I studied communication studies. I did courses of anthropological science, cultural studies, and then in the end, I ended up with enough credits to do Anthropology.
Well, oh my God, girl, that is dance. If you use that, go ahead.
How UWI did anthropology, they did social and cultural anthropology, right?
So you could do the social and cultural part of dance.
No, hear me. Okay. I went in because I thought that's what I thought. I wanted to be the next JD boy. So when I went in, I thought that's what was going to happen. That is not what it is. So I did in my whole UWI experience, apart from my certification, I did my certification in dance and dance education. But under my degree, I only did about 2 or 3 dance courses, one a year, and even a semester, none in my third year at all. So probably 2 or 3. So I'm not saying that I would never say I feel like I did dance in UWI, but I know people who have. And I think that because UWI focuses so heavily on the other aspects of the theology and the paper aspects of dance, that they, in the end, risk the chance of producing active dancers. And then UTT focuses so much on the activity of the dancers that they produce people that could well extend the leg, but hardly know the information itself. So I think not you, I'm talking about some. I'm talking about that is because, but hear me why. You went into UTT with the information you have. You went into UTT already semi-educated. There's no way if Shaquille become the first Shaquille Jones, because he ain't gonna be the next nobody that's my cousin, so he's gonna be the first Shaquille Jones. So when he become the first Shaquille Jones and produce the light bulb technique that allows you to pull influences and create intonate, that's his creation. Florida State University didn't do that to him. He did that to himself from his influences in Pembroke and wherever he picked up things from, because socialization is who we are as people. So no one person could in the end say, Kevon, oh, he credit to me. Nobody did that to him. And that is what I'm saying is the issue in Tobago itself. There is no set of influences piling together to create the one person. I am who I am culturally because my grandfather is introduced me. You never even say I Shanaria till I say I Jessie daughter. I's Jessie daughter and Avril
I
daughter
Jesse friend.
and Uncle Cecil granddaughter and Mr. Berkeley said Saville Thomas is my great. We are who our influences are, and there are no more influences to create the new generation. That is not what it's heading into, and there's no real heritage for the people to. Some people probably never even used to dance for long before Mr. Berkeley and Karen and them put me on a stage. I was just there watching because I look bad. So I was in the corner and I do the manding for 6 years. I do manding, I'm manding again, I'm manding more, I'm manding some more. Kevin in the corner, I still in the manding. Plus some younger than me, she in the Congo, I still in the manding. Leanne in the Igbo, I still in the manding. I'm manding for years. And it's only when they say, give you a chance, and I do the Igbo and I look bad. I look very bad. But now I am not open to another influence. So the manding for years, the 1 year at the Igbo, and then I started learning on my feet. And the same way other people in the community centers, and that is what rehearsal and community center and practice space culture brings. It's the same culture as the backyard. Because people was down there doing what they're doing and everybody watching and learning, and their ability to see and learn is what was perpetuating culture. And that is why nobody would ever or could ever say that Pembroke is not a place that produces consistent legends in the cultural field, because everybody pass on something to everybody and something to everybody and something. So me and all the whole of Pembroke supposed to just run for the whole of the culture division in THA and just mash it up and take it over. But to be honest, the direction that we are heading, and that is why I was one of those, Shaquille and I, we used to be on the Facebook saying, let me find a better Tobago, and people that were older than me was saying, I am not ready. When there was a bad heritage festival opening, and I'm saying bad, whatever year had passed, 5 months before it was produced, I came up with a proposal and I took it to them and I say, I don't have to run it. Look the raw idea, find the people to put it on. And I was too young and I was just a daughter. So suddenly they can't be, I don't have the ability to speak on anything. So that consistent fight down and the inability of progress and passing on and all of that is why the entire island is now in a weird disarray where Kevon Shaquille is a dancer, yes, but he had no choice but to delve into other aspects of dance to continue his passion. Because where is he going to put all this energy? What stage should he cross after he choreographed for the opening night in the Heritage Festival? What else is left for him to do to feel achieved in Tobago? Nobody can blame him if he fly off to Amsterdam and never come back, because there is nothing here left for somebody that is really interested in the product to tap into. Mr. Berkeley lived a good experience, but I sure even now Mr. Berkeley have the energy to run out himself and do something. But where is he putting the energy?
So Shanaria, you spoke about your experience when you was young and how you would learn in the center and learn from the older ones. Is that still the situation in Tobago? Is it that is still going on in all the the villages, that all the younger ones are getting to learn, the dances, the songs, all the information? So are you saying that is also dying out?
Become so crashed that the rehearsal space does become a weekend instead of a full session. Outside of Pembroke and probably places like Charlottesville, and them I have to consistently rehearse. I don't see because like you would have on a chord doing the children. What's it called? The way it takes up the children as a child, right? So you would see Bonaccord doing that. So it's just because they're rehearsing, and it's really because some girls the girl don't come out and dance, the boy don't come out to watch the girls, to be honest, and then everybody watching. But they don't have the rehearsal process, because I cannot tell the last time I knew long in advance there was a heritage. Every year we sit down going, I wonder if it have you hear anything? You know if it have an opening launch? You know if it have an audition? Because you now don't know, there's no 3-week and 4-week full summer period of rehearsals. So what center are they going and sit down and watch rehearsal? What rehearsals they're watching? There are no rehearsals.
Mr. Berkeley, you trying to interject?
Because the last 3 years I spent in Barbados.
Shanaria, you had a big lot to say and I love it. Mr. Berkeley, let's hear it from the senior.
Yeah. No, but I didn't think the original question was the place of Yui in the entire Well, these institutions, these higher learning institutions, what is the place, and does it make you a better dancer, or what it teaches? I believe that the forms and the structures as presented by these courses and so would assist you. But I feel it should not be and must not be and would not be the only thing. I feel Kevin is really maybe a good person to speak to that, because the two experiences are different. What you learn in the yard and in the rehearsals, as Shanaria is saying, what you experience in the performing, and so is one part of the story. When you go to the school and the colleges, I feel you are able, for somebody who came out of that experience, they are more able to do the connections. I could tell you a number of people who went to UE and did dance and did theater, and so they came out with a degree. And I have interacted with a number of them. A number of them came to talk with me, and I realized that they have the thing, they have the degree, but now what they want is the experience. And that experience, you should, I believe, the best time to have it is before, because it will help you to connect and grow quicker. But if you have all the knowledge and all there are some that you will. I mean, you are a lecturer. I've been to higher education, and an exam, a college that teaches a course for 10, 15, 20 years, an exam is the easiest one to pass. And there are some people who are exam, they have a name, let's call them, who could well pass exam.
Exam literacy.
Yes.
They could just retreat exam, but
Oh, yeah, me there. You bring any exam, because they go to somebody pass papers, and they will pass the exam. So but when you're doing the skill, just a minute, when you're doing the skill of dance or drumming also, especially if you're doing traditional dance and culture, you need to have a foundation somewhere. And I believe it's best to have it before. But if you go and you do all the paperwork and so, then I believe you should spend a year or two doing internship. You know, go to a village, go to a community and do some internship. And it will help you to connect the dots. You know, it's like a doctor. They must do the internship. But some people learn the thing, see what it always is done, doesn't have the pleasure of Shanaria and Kevon to come out of the experience, and therefore they're now in a place where they're hired to do XYZ, but they don't have the experience. So now they're in trouble. So I believe there should be some period of internship where people could gain the experience of the entire thing, so that they could connect everything. Yeah, Kevon, I'm sorry yeah.
I think for me,
very seriously, because I teach at UE, and a lot of the times the persons who don't have experience or are not involved in an outside group, they are, when I say green, they're totally green. We usually have to encourage them, go and join a group while you're in UE, because when you get, you are not going to learn everything. When you go to UTT, you are not going to learn everything. We are giving you a framework with which to work with. You are not going to, I mean, and you're in a classroom setting. You are not in your yard. You're not in the authentic space. And that is why we always encourage them to come with some experience, or while you're there, go and get some experience in the field. But what I want to say is that probably Kevon could speak to that, Shaquille. Whatever you learn in these institutions supposed to help you to develop and bring some sense of structure to these dances that are done. Or if you have a production or a show, you're supposed to be able to use what you learn. That is why I'm hoping that Shanaria, in her anthropological, did I pronounce it correct? Yes, her experiences, I would think that she would use these things to come back and, you know, associate it somehow with dance to bring it up to another level.
Apologize.
Develop.
If they give me
the dances and the culture of Tobago.
Trust me, Grandma. Since I'm my year one at UE, since I went to Trinidad, and every year I feel like I've gained some kind of knowledge, and Shaquille can speak to it. Every single year since then, I have attempted to find a way to add a bit to contribute back to Tobago. Tobago forced me into fit. Tobago made me realize, here what? They don't want you, girl, find something else to do and come back home when they can. So what I would do instead is come home and teach the same group things. I'm a daddy group, I'm a daddy group, I'm a daddy group, and that kind of thing. And I still am interested in dance. I have the Just Dance Performing Company, but that's something that I literally, what I do with that company is that I only activate it from like December to March, because the only purpose is to accommodate tertiary students finding a tertiary dancers to get cash. I only do the carnival for the season in Trinidad where I can help students get money. So that's really what I do it for. I give them the opportunity, and it's really about soca, dancing, and that kind of thing. So Shakil is probably the best person to talk about how academia would play into.
Shakil, let me even Shakil want to say.
I mean, I listen to Mr. Berkeley, and I think education, based on the question Mindy asked, education, it really complements the whole idea of being able to repatriate information to build, the whole idea of culture and preserving and that type of thing. And I agree whereby it is best that you go in with some type of knowledge, because therefore you have an understanding of the art form, you have an understanding of what needs to happen, and therefore you are able to marry the information that you would have received within the institution with to help build that structure. But that cannot be achieved without opportunity. And I think that is one of the things that we are facing. There's a lack of opportunity.
Shouldn't we create the opportunities?
Yeah,
I mean,
we should create the opportunity, but Mindy, I think what I'm alluding to is the fact that we come up with these ideas. There are many times that Shonaria and myself, she would have presented an idea to me, let me pull the young choreographers together and start discussing how we could change the scene of dance and really try to do things. But when we take these things to get access, the access is not there. We have the ideas, we're willing to do the work, but then there is no access, right? Because we always have to find some issue with regulation and stipulation from a government standpoint, and it kind of slows down or hinders, what the extent that we could go. So when we have whatever information that we have, the only thing we could do is take it back to our home groups, and that is for us that who are a part of groups, because that is where we have the opportunity and that is where we have the space. Now, if it is that, as you were saying, that we have a lot of dancers that are not a part of groups or whatever, and these type of things, how do we get them involved so that when they go out after degree and start to practice, we know that it's meaningful things that they're giving to people? How could we do that? And it is through the same opportunity that we're not having.
So we have Mr. Berkeley, who is on the panel, and he has been a part of the party groups and so forth, and he knows the political side of things. And these two youngsters here are talking on the politics sides of dance, which is literally hugging the positions that they need to be exposed to. So you can explain, because you have been in that arena for a very long time, being a senator and all these things. So you can explain to us what's the way forward to let the young people come to the forefront and kind of have a say where culture is concerned in Tobago?
Well, I think that has happened already, and it's happening. For example, in the Heritage Festival, a lot of our young people have. I mean, as a matter of fact, it is ruled now by our young people, the opening nights, etc. I mean, I don't want to, for professional reasons, I would not make any comment on the opening nights, right? But I'm saying it involves a lot of the young people. As a matter of fact, when they have auditions, or when you go to look at the rehearsal, it's all of them. I mean, Shakil, Shalari, everybody's there. So
are they supervised, Mr. Berkeley? Do the elders supervise?
Yeah.
Is the elders teaching?
The seniors are them, and they're given a space also to do what they gotta do. I'm saying exposure, and Shakil will tell you that he would have gone with the Division of Tourism to do road shows, etc. And so there are things that are happening. Like I said, everything will happen.
No, but Mr. Berkeley,
at the same time,
and
the way in which
to be a part of a contingent and get
so there's a difference between.
We aren't talking about being in the Heritage Festival. We're talking about genuine, committable ideas that can actually develop the island and then in turn benefit the country.
Right.
The interest in doing a bit more than we already have, the access to the commoditization of dance, the interest in creating platforms for things like workshops and educating seminars, and these
Right.
are all a list of things that I know for a fact we have attempted to do time and time again, year and year after, because I don't remember the last name, but I saw it was a Dion. Trying to remember the name I saw, but somebody said in the comments, like the twin. No.
Yes.
Yes.
They said in the comments that now is Shakil's time to come back and give to Tobago or whatever. I can't remember the comment, but that was the point. And that is what we are saying that we have been trying to do for years. But after a person tries and tries again, after a while you lose the interest. So it now forces you to have to look at it from a very different standpoint. And as much as I think that what is happening is a lot of the elders feel like because they are the ones with the information, they are the ones that should guide. But I do not think they understand that they are going to go. And instead of passing on the information and giving authority to the people to guide, so that when they do go, just somebody following them, and that is why it keeps depleting. So some because you and it's like how I felt if I did drop out. If they didn't make me do demanding one more year, I probably would have never come back. So that is where we are right now. We're in the demanding stage. And if you feed us with some and you graduate with some and you put me up in the Igbo stage and you manage your Karamanti, and then you bring me up in the Congo and you still doing the Karamanti, at some point when you go, you are now leaving people to adjust to the Karamanti a lot easier. But we have a bunch of people jumping from Manding to Karamanti because it's just a case of, and I don't think that Mr. Berkeley and Daddy, Mr. Taylor and Uncle Elvis, Mr. Rajman and them had to go through that version of the process. They were growing and glowing and learning with the process. A lot of us are stifled to stay in this awkward space, this limbo, waiting for a chance to stop the demanding. That's the best way I could have explained it. So yes, Mr. Berkeley, I do think that we are given opportunities to be a part of, but we are not ever given opportunities to express. Nobody's saying that, Kevin, and nobody's saying that I should control the opening night and give Kevin on the Queen show and let me run the heritage. That's not what we're saying. We're saying give us an opportunity to provide you guys with the ideas that we have. Give us a platform to create and you monitor and you produce, because you are the ones holding the position. But open the place and stop hugging the space and we will all grow together.
But are you all going to get tutored by them? I mean, have you all gone to them? Did you all go to Mr. Berkeley and Miriam and sit down and say, what makes you think?
That's where we grow. That's where we grow. That's where we grow. That's why I get most of my teachers. I have gone to them. And I mean, and that's what I'm saying to you. I was able to go back to my home group and have the opportunity there to create, because like what Shonara is saying, I would have lived it and gone through the process there. So therefore, they welcome me there. But in terms of when you look at the larger scale of things and Tobago and trying to, the same good that you're doing for your community, you want to expand your reach to do for your island and your country, that is where the situation comes in. And then the system comes into play and these blockages. And that is what we're asking for, an opportunity. And nobody's saying to give us the control. We want balance.
So these people who are doing the blockages, are the dancers though?
No.
Mr. Berkeley, up to you.
A
lot of them are not even aware.
I want to say something here.
Let's hear Mr.
Before we
Berkeley.
go too far into where we are going, I would suggest that we probably take this up again locally, in our space, and have discussions with the people who, could make the necessary changes. Because you see, and as I'm saying, the professionalism of what is happening, the cultural space is dynamic. From time to time, different people come to the fore, and different people manage in different ways. And sometimes some people fall on, some people fall off. And it's all in the dynamism of how administrations and administrative systems operate. Right? And I really wouldn't want us to, because see, if we continue going down this road, we're going to get into a place where we may be critical of people who, you know, may be doing a job, doing the job in a different manner to how some people would have done it. And I think, you know, we ought to just look at that. I hear the point, I understand the point, and then things evolve, things changes, and sometimes changes are made and different things come to the fore. When we were younger, and I was younger, and just said all of us, we had our own issues with being entrusted with the mantle. Eventually, I managed Heritage for a portion of time. Eventually, Elvis became a cultural officer, a senior cultural officer. Eventually, Jesse became a cultural officer. And so, you know, they were able to wield influences from that level. Before that, you had another thing happening. And we were there in Pembroke dancing and drumming away. So I'm saying sometimes the time will come and sometimes things changes and sometimes things will change slowly. Sometimes things will change very quickly. But
So what do you think?
so all
Mr. Berkeley, the reason that I think that would have been a smoother
I'm asking
transition
for is when
because
that
when the young were
opportunity
coming up,
comes, we
Hold on,
make the best of it. Right? So I'm saying when that opportunity comes, all I'm saying is that we make the best of it because it will come. And
So when
sometimes, let me give you one example. Hold on. I want to give you an example that is not culture. It's football. So we were part of a team in my village. We were young fellas. A lot of the senior guys were playing the football or playing for the team. We weren't winning. We had a bevy of young fellas, myself included, 7 or 8 of us, who just came out of secondary school and played for secondary school. And we were good. And what happened? We had challenges to get into the team. And eventually we got in bit by bit by bit. I eventually became the manager and coach of the team. And eventually we break ground and we won a few games. We produced a few players who played for the Tobago team, etc. I'm saying that I can understand that because we went through that. But some of the times we have to wait, some of the times we have to push, some of the times we have to have patience, and some of the times we gotta maybe look at advocacy in a different kind of manner. But I'm saying hope is not lost. All is not lost. When we get the opportunity, let us use it and ensure that we continue to move forward from there. I'd like to put that in the mix and let us sort of bring that the conversation to, you know, to how we started because we're gonna end up into a place. And I would not like to be part of a panel that ends up in that place, given
well,
my
I'm glad, Mr. Berkeley, that you brought
convictions and
now,
professionalism in the Tobago
well,
culture space.
Mr. Berkeley, now is the chance for us to ask Mr. Kevin, how do you see the way forward? Where do we go from here?
To me,
Post COVID-19, where do you think we could go from here?
to me, I think is beginning to have the conversations to start having a balance whereby, you know, we don't rule out our elders because they indeed play an integral part in the way forward. As much as we think that we want to expand and develop and we don't need them, we really do need them because they are the ones that have the information. They are the ones that would have been through the thing, and they are the ones that we need to guide us. However, I also think with those that honestly want to place an investment with regards to the development of culture in Tobago and Trinidad and Tobago, and you would see the genuineness from those persons that the opportunities are provided, the platforms are provided, and through the guidance, I believe that we would get to where we intend to be 10, 15, 20 years down the road.
Honoria, Gregor asked Kevin, where do you think we go from here? But I want to ask you, what do you, as an individual, think you can contribute towards this, the progress of dance in Tobago? I mean, any aspect, the preservation, the teaching, the authenticity, the archiving, the getting the elders to pass on information or pass on responsibilities. What do you think you could do? Or what do you think you're going to do in the future to help this development?
What I think I can do is probably make use of my mind or my ability, my interest. So I see myself, if given the chance, being interested in things like the documentation of the history. All these people that know that are soon to go, pulling the information that they have and documenting it in a way that makes sense. I see myself very honestly interested in the re-evaluation of the Heritage Festival and attempting to guide us towards a better path. And lastly, I see myself interested in an opportunity to um, find a way to encourage or to remotivate the Tobago population. We aren't interested. We aren't as interested or as hungry as we used to be or we can be. So finding ways that the youths coming up, as in the youths younger than me, because I'm a youth myself. So the
Yes.
ones younger than me wanting to be a part, remotivate or motivating the young ones younger than me, remotivating the ones that are in my age group and slightly older, and pulling the information from the ones that are above. So finding bridges to connect the different
Yeah.
generations and finding a way for that to not just affect Tobago and Trinidad, but for it to in turn affect how we present ourselves to the external world, and pulling and redevelop the idea or concept of culture in Tobago.
I told you she was Miss Larnive.
Excellent.
Excellent answer, Miss Larnive. Nice.
I'm looking forward to whatever you produce. Trust me. And wrapping up. We are wrapping up. It's time to wrap up. You all see the time, but I still want to ask Mr. Berkeley if he has any intentions of contributing towards. Well, I don't want to say dance. Yeah, further contributing
to the cultural.
Yes, to the whole cultural landscape
of Tobago.
Yeah, well, I have been doing it. I continue to do that. I say all the time that I am a person who is one of the resource persons that people will come to. I never hold back anything. Whenever you ask, then we talk and we have a discussion. I look at Kevon and Shonaria as part of my work, and I'll say tonight that I'm proud of where they are. Shonaria is who Shonaria is. Will always have her own mind and do the things that she believes will propel her forward, and that's good. There's nothing wrong with that, nothing at all. Kevon is somebody again who is a go-getter, who is energetic, and somebody who is very willing to learn. I know they were putting things together in some of his studies. They were putting stuff together, dance and song. He didn't talk to me direct, but Karen spoke to me, and I made my input, and I am happy that we have produced these people. I will continue to contribute. I'm saying again, the dynamics in Tobago sometimes changes. We have had a period of some changes recently. It may or may not, well, it would have bring another kind of dynamic to the heritage space. And again, those are all part of the learning processes, right? But I am here, always here, and we have our own cultural space where we critique each other, where we talk to each other. Annette, Dr. Mark, all of us, we talk from time to time, and we critique with a level of respect. And that's one of the things I admire greatly. Because we critique, we don't get vexed. We critique with respect. And like I say, I didn't like that costume there. What I said the last time, I said that the only thing, and we will talk it out until we come to something. So we still have that respect in the cultural space among the seniors. I mean, Jesse, Elvis, and I and Karen, we have that kind of gelling. We get together in one night and put things together and mash up the place. So we are going to contribute. We are going to continue to contribute. And our investment in these young people will continue. They will move on after now. We have another set of young people coming, and we're hoping that we could continue to be that place that nurtures and develops and brings them to the fore, and let them go conquer the world. Because sometimes to Shalaria, the space you want to wallow in may not be the space for you. Maybe you're supposed to be in Amsterdam handling certain things out there. I don't know. But the world is there. And with the level of experiences that these people have, I see everyone every time on his Facebook doing all sort of things. And I say, boy, they're a restless boy, can't sit there at all. But I look at the work, and it's good work. I don't know if you all see it sometimes. If you look on his page, you do a lot of work sometimes. You do a quarantine
That's okay.
work, And I mean, it's good. So I'm saying that I'm sure the rest of the world is looking on. And I feel something great will happen. So I will continue to contribute. This is a good place and a good forum to continue these discussions. At first, when I was asked, I had my own apprehensions, but I'm happy that I did accept. And I believe that as this goes on, it is going to open up the cultural conversation, because we need to get back to that place where we can sit and talk the culture and at least influence some kind of change. But I'm here, and I will always be here to assist as long as the good Lord gives me the breath of life.
Was greatly appreciated. So, before we actually end our dynamic discussion this evening, I want to ask our panelists, especially Kevon and Shonaria, who are the ones practicing dance. I want to ask you all for your best three, because you all know we have been asking these questions on our last dance panels. Our three best male dancers, our three best female dancers. Kevon,
This is exclusive to Tobago.
No, you can
Inclusive.
So it's your best three wherever they come from, but please don't go outside of Trinidad and Tobago. So
And you don't have to call me because you know me, Shanna. Yeah.
Let's start with Kevon. Kevon, give us your best three male dancers and your best three female dancers.
Go with Kevon. This has to all be folk related dancers.
No. Dance is dance is dance. So your best three dancers.
Dance, yeah.
For me, the best three males, I'll try to give one from in my teachings growing up, and that would have to be Richard Reed. From today, I would say Akimo Sandy, and I'll also say Sion Nurse.
Oh, nice. You can still say it.
Female?
Your best three.
Mm-hmm. My best female?
In female, one Dassel Kirk. I would love to call Siomara Rajman. She's from Youthquake. And let me see somebody from Trinidad that I know. I really like to look at Kelsey John from Northwest.
Okay.
I think that's her name. Kelsey.
Yes, Kelsey. Big up Northwest, Kelsey.
Big up Kelsey. You gotta play like your friend.
She must be making sure and call him before.
I feel she called him before.
Shonaria, doesn't matter if it crosses his three. Call your best three males. Let's go.
Males, I would have to go with. I can say Kevon, even though he's there.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would say Shaquille Jones, Akimo Sandy, and what's that boy's name? I wanted to say Sion, but that boy
Tevin.
Simeon.
Yeah.
Oh, Tevin.
No, don't go into all the passionate child.
I can't remember the name of the person. So, Tevin is amazing. Tevin is okay. Tevin. Kevon. It's not Simeon. His name is Tobago, but he's in Northwest.
It's Kadeem.
Yeah, I really love who we grew into as a dancer. So
yes, agree.
That'll be my three. I'll do Tevin
as your honorable mention.
Because Kevon right here. And females, I would go. What's her last name? Was it Devines? Kelsey Devines from XDA. She's not really a folk dancer, but
she's some header, right? Dance Carib header, Kelsey Devines.
Yeah. Female.
Trinidad or Tobago?
I don't know. I'll say
if say Avril, I go faint.
I'll say my mother.
Say Avril, I go faint. If you say Avril, I'm going to faint.
My mother, Avril Jerry, faint.
You like her?
And lastly, I'll probably go with Dassel Kirk as well.
Nice.
Mr. Berkeley, we're going to put a twist on your own here. We
Mm,
want you to name the best 3
please.
drummers, regardless
Oh,
of what
that's easy.
generation. Let us hear your best 3
No,
drummers.
yeah, that's easy.
That's easy. Okay.
I would say Xavier.
Yes, Xavier from Malik.
Yeah. Well, Donald is dead now. He's deceased. So I don't know if I could call him Junior Donald Noel.
Yeah, yeah.
Posthumously, yeah.
Yeah, posthumously, and Dominic Williams.
And Dominic from the
Very nice.
Nice,
That's
lovely.
the drummer.
Shaquille,
Yeah.
can you just give us one drummer? Give us our best drummer from your experience.
I want to give 2.
Okay, Shaquille, give 2.
From Tobago, I'm going to say Quentin Wilson.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
And from Trinidad, I'm going to say Kempes Ramnarayan.
All right. Kempes! Kempes!
The police.
School boy get called. Nice. Shanaria, give us one drummer quick before we go.
I wanted to say Quentin. Okay, I'll say Perron Frank.
Perron. All right. Mr. Berkeley, you can give us a dancer since you didn't get a chance. One male, one female.
Oh Lord. Okay. So I will. I'll say Miriam Tobago and Terry David. Terry David.
David, nice.
Terry David, lovely.
Okay, guys.
If I was to give one, I'll call. If I had one more, I'd call Gregor. But Terry,
okay.
I would feel stood out. Give it
I have enough accolades I can give away some.
Gregor is a close second.
I listen to one.
Some experiences it's not about who's better, who's worse. Right? It's about my experiences with both dancers.
Terry and Gregor, nice.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I listened to this whole panel tonight, and I will say one thing to the 2 youngsters, the young dancers on the panel. I watched a lot of kung fu movies, and even when the guy learned the technique of the scorpion style and he feel he was ready, the master used to tell him, "You ain't ready yet." So Wendell is very correct. Opportunity will be there, and you are still young. So what you should do now is try to harness and curb all your learning experience so that when the opportunity is given to you, you can distribute it in a way that will be amazing, okay? Because for both of you all.
All right. So folks, I want to thank you all very much, our panelists. As we said, they are very accomplished. And we really appreciate your conversation tonight. I think I learned a lot.
Yes.
Some people were making comments that they also got some very good information. And I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you to the audience, all of those who send in messages and questions and comments. Thank you very much. I want you all to continue following Soca TV. So please follow, share, like the page. Make sure we're getting the word out there. We're talking about culture. It's not just dance. We're talking about drumming, drama, and dance. We want to, keep have the discussion going, keep bringing the togetherness. And what we want to also encourage you to email some pictures and the names of persons that you like as dancers, your favorites. Email them to soca2theworld@yahoo.com. soca2theworld@yahoo.com. Email the pictures and the names of the persons who you think have been exceptional dancers, and even drummers, people who have contributed to our culture. We may not get a chance to, call their names every night, but we want to recognize them and also let younger people know who they are. All right. Again, thank you very much, guys. Thank you to my co-host.
Thank you. I will leave you all with something nice. Woy, yo, 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 woy, yo, yo, yo. Come, let me go, let me go.
And we went to Tobago.
Woy, yo, yo, yo. Come, let me go, let me go.
We went to Tobago.
From Grenada, land down spices. Now we go dancing the land. Move to Tobago, land of cocoa.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you all. Bye.
I hope meeting you all very soon, because I heard today Tobago Heritage will be on.
Huh?
Despite the COVID dilemma, they said Tobago Heritage will be on. So I'll see you all soon. Charlottesville, we go in.
Thank you very
That's
much.
right. That's
Thank
right.
you, everybody.